Previously on Something Who. Welcome to the podcast where we take something old, a Doctor Who story from the original series, compare it with something new, one from the new series, and add something borrowed to make Something Who. Hello, I'm Richard, and we're back with Something Who podcast, where this time we're looking at two stories with those shape-shifting lactose enthusiasts, the Zygons. Initially, we'll look at Fourth Doctor story Terror of the Zygons, which opens season 13. Recently announced as coming on Blu-ray, and later we'll examine 12th Doctor two-parter, the Zygon Invasion / Inversion from Series 9. And with me to decide whether these stories leave us feeling like lairds or just a bunch of suckers, we have a fine panel dispersed all around the world. Starting with science and astronomy writer Giles.
Evening.
Hello, Giles.
Hello. You joined me fresh from two or 3 days of helping my 87-year-old mum move house. So I'm, slightly prolapsed. In comparison to that, wrestling Zygons is fairly easy going.
Yeah, well, it's great you've been able to join us. And next, writer, actor, and taking some rare time off from his summer of amateur dramatics, it's Paul.
Hello there. Yes. Or just call me Prospero. Yeah, call me Prospero, please. It's a fetish thing. No, don't call me that.
It's the method, is it?
If you could see the shirt that he's wearing, viewers and listeners.
We call it a hero shirt. It's It can suit any era from the 13th century to the 18th.
To the 14th.
Yeah. It looks... It's equally inaccurate in all of them. It's amazing.
We so enjoyed having him back. Last time, it sounded like he was having fun too. It's a fast return for multi-talented 3D artist, writer, researcher, podcaster, telesnap animator and co-creator of Dalek 63 to 88, Gav!
Oh my word! Hello, it's me. Or is it me? Is it the Zygon version of me?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to know. Both drink a lot of wine.
So, moving on to the Zygon Invasion and Zygon Inversion, written by Peter Harness with chunks of Stephen Moffat for the second half, and directed by Daniel Nettheim, which I have seen, as per, on the one occasion when it went out, until this weekend, when I watched it again.
Same here. Saw it on broadcast and have, not to show my hand, avoided it ever since.
I don't think I watched it again. I can't remember what the last time I rewatched a new series story was. Not that it's relevant.
Yeah, I wouldn't have rewatched it since broadcast, but I think that's just due to... Yeah, it's just not been something I get around to doing all that often anymore. Not heard of it.
When you get to our age, you just know... You start to get a clearer perspective on how much time you've got left and what you're going to do with it, don't you? And this is not one of those things.
I mean, I didn't hate it on original viewing, I would say, but some of its limitations were perhaps clearer second time round to me.
So I was immediately frustrated that it began with a flashback to a story that told me that I needed to remember a chunk of backstory that I really didn't remember. And that made me wish I'd watched Day of the Doctor first, but then it probably for the best that I didn't. So yeah, it wasn't a great start, and I'm sure I felt the exact same thing the first time I saw it, and that was a significantly shorter distance from Day of the Doctor. And Day of the Doctor, I mean, it's just one of those things that it was a lot of baggage for the casual viewer to be expected to have brought with them.
Yeah.
I guess I'm slightly more charitable towards it because I figure if there's one episode you can be referencing in... When was this broadcast? 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah? 2015, 2016?
2015, yeah.
2015. And it feels like referencing something that's a year and a half old and it's the one episode that everybody saw.
Yeah.
And, I think it doesn't fall too much outside of the old tone and sticks definition of continuity.
I think
kind of thing of being what you can expect people to remember with a nudge.
I think the problem is for me that it's not last week or an ongoing thing. It's you're expected to pick it up from a long time ago. Sorry, there's two fighting cats in the room. I don't know.
You kind of also have to have watched Death in Heaven as well, so that makes it even more complicated.
And despite the fact that it was not that long since the Zygons were introduced to the new series, the state of play has moved on off screen, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, if you were going to make a saga out of it, I think it might have been. I don't think it's too what's the word, prosaic to. It could have been an interesting thing to show, whereas here it starts with a setup that we don't know about.
Yes.
So
that's the problem, isn't it?
It's not part of the mystery. They have to tell us it just to carry on with the story. It doesn't become.
You're presented with two problems immediately. A, there's a load of stuff that you should have remembered because it helps you know what's going on. And B, there's a load of stuff that you didn't know, which you need to know in order to know what's going on.
Most people are going to be thinking, should I have seen this bit or not?
Yeah, which falls into which category? So you're immediately on the back foot. And my main note is that I felt like I was on the back foot from the outset, but not in a fun way. It was frantic, but it didn't feel enjoyably paced. Like it had a similar feel in structure to The Impossible Astronaut.
Yeah.
Choppy. Moffat likes a choppy narrative. But it was weird that this felt both choppy and linear. So I was never confused because it never felt like there were enough moving parts. And yet I was confused despite there not being a great deal going on. I've failed to put I put a lot of thought into what the structure of this story was doing to my brain, and I can't quite work it out. So I'm waiting for one of you guys to tell me. I think it might be because the whole thing feels like a final act from the beginning.
It's not bad. Good point.
Because the setup is either in Day of the Doctor or off screen. And so you're thrown into the tumult of sorting this out. You join it at the point in Terror of the Zygons where the spaceship is taking off out of the lock. And you've got a big problem and you've got to resolve it. And that's the bit I like least in Terror of the Zygons. I like all of the atmosphere and the build-up and the spooky mystery and the finding things out. And you don't get any of that. You're straight into this chaos. And I don't know where to latch onto it. I don't know what characters to follow, to enjoy. It's bewildering.
And the case for the defence.
And I just want to actually, while I remember to, Richard, you said you need to have seen Death in Heaven for this as well.
Yeah, because Osgood gets knocked off.
Yeah,
does she?
by the Master.
Oh. Yeah,
I completely forgotten that. I just assumed, she died. Okay, right, and I just assumed that was an off-screen death. And
oh, really?
Does she die in the plane crash?
Yeah,
in all that nonsense with the plane. Yeah.
It's tissue compression.
Yeah, Missy shoots her.
Oh God! Right. Okay. Oh.
To add to what Gav was saying, she gets entangled with the Zygon in Day of the Doctor, but that's never really followed up on, so we don't know that. Or do we? Do we? Though does she get duplicated in Day of the Doctor?
Yes.
I wish I'd watched it, and Is that part of the resolution of that story, that there's two of them?
Yes. Well, there's two of everybody, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, the other thing I was going to say, in terms of Gav saying watching it the first time, getting confused, and then watching it a second time and experiencing the same confusion, even though you should remember, I still can't get in my head the difference between the resolutions of Day of the Doctor and this.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorted out. There's something.
Same. They're so similar,
they're not identical, no. But the feel is identical.
Same setting, same.
The tone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that I was going to ask. I kept expecting to go there, and then I thought, oh no, you're thinking of the wrong story, and then it did. So anyway, there you go. So we did know that Osgood had a Zygon duplicate, but I don't think it's mentioned again in her next appearance. I don't know how many times she's been seen. And when she's killed off in Death in Heaven, there doesn't seem to be any suggestion that anyone was thinking ahead to this.
No.
Which is a shame, because they could have put a bit of foreshadowing in there if they had. It's simultaneously one of the more interesting things about this, but also one of the things that pulls it further and further away from what it would have been if they hadn't decided to do something completely different with Zygons as a metaphor rather than as.
Are you saying that
a race with a back?
They were a metaphor in this, because that was so carefully disguised that if you hadn't said that, I would never have realised there was a metaphor in there.
Yeah. Well, perhaps you should go back and watch the Doctor's speech. I mean, they're sprinkled throughout, but the Doctor's speech has more clues, I think, than the other.
This, I mean, let's address it. I think that the recreation of an Islamic State beheading video in Doctor Who is one of the most distasteful things that they've ever done. And it's sandwiched with a fun child abduction sequence, so there's that.
And then they blow up a plane, and it's just like, what were they thinking about? Like, any of these things would have had that program pulled off the air in that particular week. Planes drop out of the sky all the time, and
how are they cutting whole scenes, whole subplots out of Robot of Sherwood out of fear that it evokes Islamic terror, and doing a story that evokes Islamic terror? I can't. Anyway, aside from the iconography, which I just think is misguided, it's so heavy-handed. Wouldn't it have been better if all of these problems and analogies had been there and modern terrorism had been addressed, or I don't want to use the word parodied, but I can't think of a better term, but avoiding the words like radicalization and all of the things that hugely signpost beat you around the head with exactly the point that it's getting at. Wouldn't it have been cleverer for the viewer to come to that conclusion themselves and feel smart, rather than have subplots in the Middle East and use terms like terror cells or all of these other things? You just think there's a subtler and more enjoyable story to come out of that when people realise halfway through what it's getting at, rather than virtually put an ISIS flag in the middle of Doctor Who.
Was there any controversy at the time? I remember a few fan reviewers pointing that sort of thing out, but did anyone in the mainstream media have a thing to say about it? And if you've already answered that question while I disappeared for 2 minutes... No.
Your absence was not missed, don't worry.
Gav just carried on talking. I can't remember anything particularly, and I think people generally liked it.
Yeah.
Especially liked Capaldi's big speech and so on. I mean, subtly it ain't, but I still don't have that big a problem with it. It's interesting, that point you made about Osgood and saying, oh, well, she died. And that's probably the closest we can come to the fact that, as a non-fan viewer or a fan or a viewer in ignorance of what you view as a key plot point, Richard, kind of the fact you're meant to know Osgood died, and I just kind of took that on. I kind of didn't have an issue with that sort of thing, I thought, oh yeah, I like the Day of the Doctor. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember those plot points. I agree with you. It's trying to have its cake and eat it and revisiting the same themes and setting, and and some of the same motifs, with the box, in the boxes and everything like that. But I'm not gonna. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was perfect, but it sounds like I had a better time rewatching it than possibly two of you at least. Although the treatment of the Zygons certainly left me with a sour taste in my mouth in terms of the flexibility of what they can do to meet the purposes of the plot.
Yeah,
and the redesign aspects of it really.
Yeah, I mean
certainly grates with me.
So
turning
that picks up on how we ended the part one. Is I want to see more of Zygon culture, and instead of that, we're getting a rewritten version of Zygon rules, how they operate, how their technology works. But it's also being revealed in the context of this being a splinter faction, and they don't really represent Zygon politics or culture. And we're also meeting the Zygons as a race of 2 million individuals, most of which are in the UK, which is quite a lot of the population.
Well, given our certain factions, certain political factions, get agitated about a few hundred people.
Exactly. I mean, this is a genuine and credible threat to bringing down civilization. Population gets boosted by 20 billion.
It's a bit unclear, though, isn't it? I mean, they say there's 20 million and they're dispersed around the world. There's a line that says.
But they all happen to be presumably doppelgangers of Brits.
They do say they're mostly in the UK.
Yeah, and they seem to be in Britain and in America, and they've got training camp in.
The ones are the immigrants into the town. So in the original version, in an earlier script.
Oh, is that why it's in New Mexico?
Oh, I mean...
Oh, for goodness sake.
Far be it from me. But the earlier version of this sounded better. So there was a version where there was a town where a police sheriff that happened to look exactly like Clara Oswald had gone a bit rogue. And that was part of the discovery of the Zygon infiltration And there was a Danny Pink there as well, who should be dead. So there were a lot of interesting elements that got dropped along the way. There was a whole flashback element with Corporal Bell and
Sounds like it did something interesting with the premise rather than just jump scares.
I mean, it's quite awkward, I suppose. At least for the Zygons, if they're having to subvert their Zygonness and spend their whole time being apparently human just for the sake of continued existence. It doesn't seem terribly satisfying.
Yeah, we're meant to believe that only a small number of them are unhappy to take human form, and the rest of them just want to live their lives in a very heavy-handed immigration allegory.
Yes.
Yeah, it just feels hard to believe that apart from a small number of disruptive ones, the rest of this 20 million were perfectly happy to take the grotesque human form and just live out their lives as shopkeepers and the like, homeless people, judging by that one fellow. So the schoolgirls were introduced because... Is it Peter Harness who wrote this?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He was concerned that the story was a little bit too adult in its tone and content. So he thought if the Zygon nest was made up of school children with their base in a school, then it would sort of equalise the cognitive horror of a small child watching this to see other small children as the villain. So the ghoul child element was introduced to try to offset the otherwise horrific nature.
Well, it worked. What a roaring success. Nothing remotely creepy or worrying about that side of it.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, I was obviously, mine went in the wrong place there, but I sort of felt like Capaldi was going to be threatening those girls with her being Zygon agents, and then someone's going to come along and kind of, arrest him for whatever. Yeah. But no,
that was so obvious. Was it designed as a double bluff? Do you think?
Yeah, possibly.
Because it's a funny double bluff to make you think it's something unsavoury. Yeah. Oh, look, they're hinting at something unsavoury, and they're gonna, oh.
Are the Zygons terrible racists, by the way? Because they don't seem to have, in my viewing anyway, taken the form of anybody other than sort of whitish people.
Isn't the father of the boy in Clara's block of flats?
Oh yes, you're right. They are sort of they're Asian, aren't they? Yes, you're right.
I couldn't quite work out the guy who does the terrific hand acting there. That's sorry, not a comment to not a comment to you, Paul, with your gesticulations. I'm talking about Mr. I was reminded of.
Oh right, Martin Space.
A bit of that, yes, but also of Dr. Worm in Peter Capaldi's spoof thing, the Cricklewood Greats, where there's some equally, but that's obviously Noah informed acting in itself, but there's someone who's menaced by their out of control and has a mind of its own.
Yeah, the introduction of body horror was because the writer said there's not been enough body horror in Doctor Who.
Right.
So my script about child abduction and Islamic terror, now's the time to put really unpleasant. I found one of my notes is during that scene where the guy is in the shop transforming, and he says we just wanted to live here, and I thought that this is more grown up than any Torchwood, and I don't know what a 7-year-old is making of this at this point, but I remember being conscious at the time of watching that I had somewhat separated from Doctor Who, and it was the season after this that got me back on board.
The fact that Capaldi goes around calling himself Dr. Frankenstein and playing an electric guitar doesn't somehow bring back the youth audience.
No, and it's alienating, but it's also indulgent, because I cannot see the Doctor playing that guitar. That is Peter Capaldi playing that guitar, and his recent Glastonbury shenanigans just don't help reframe that any differently. So all of that feels like an actor with a lot of say in how he's seen on screen, rather than, I'll stop myself before I libel anyone.
Well, just to lighten the tone, I'm probably going to regret this, but just to go back to where you were with the metaphor, the subtle metaphor of immigration, and we were just we morphed into the fact that the Zygons, the only ask of them in exchange for being allowed to live here was that they assimilate. They look human, they behave like humans, they adopt human customs and human culture. Do we think that that's supposed to be an extension of the metaphor that you mentioned earlier? And if so, what on earth is it saying?
Yeah, your values, beliefs, and appearance is irrelevant and should be discarded if you want any hope of being accepted.
Well, that's the Chibnall version, obviously. Right, fair enough. You think is that an unintentional byproduct of a metaphor that can only be stretched so far, do you think? You're not suggesting Peter Hines is a massive racist?
No, I'm not suggesting that for 1 minute, but I think...
Okay.
So, this is the problem. It's a big jumble of ideas, this story, and none of them are quite seen through in the ways you would hope. Because, like I was saying about the Sea Devils and the previous iteration of the Zygons, they are monstrous, But in those classic Doctor Who stories, they are not portrayed as monsters. The whole point is that they startle you with their appearance, and then you learn to discover that they are a delight. But these Zygons...
But you're going to have to blow them up anyway.
Yes. These Zygons, at least in their native form, are just hissing, scuttling, spiky tooth horrors. Same with the Silurians when you meet them in the Hungry Earth or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. They're behaving like monsters, and then we're told to believe that they're not. But they're running about amongst the gravestones and jumping out on people. So these Zygons, we want to sympathise, or we're told to sympathise with them, but we're only ever shown a sympathetic version when
they're in the human
form. They're in the human form, which undermines the whole concept of any sort of message of racism. Is that until they appear to be white people, you can't make sense of any of them.
I think, that's my big beef with the redesign. I realise the fact that with the originals, that was John Woodnutt underneath all the prosthetics, and you get that, and in this version, aside from the fact they've botched some of the key elements of the actual design in terms of like the forehead and everything like that being reduced, but also they just have a generic scary face.
I think there's one scene that's
projecting through
not one actor. It's always one actor, isn't it? As the same Zygon, so they all have the same face. But I think there's one scene where there's two costumes. I could be wrong, but even that uses the same mold. Yeah. And the fractional differences are just because it's a different actor underneath. But by and large, very they look identical next to each other.
It's odd, isn't it, that in New Who, which is in some ways genuinely more sophisticated than the original, and certainly the people who are making it think that it is, that, as you say, there's several examples of monsters being, of the approach to alien races being much more simplistic than was achieved at its best in the old series. And I do wonder, I think, it's probably just design. I don't even know if it's inspired by the writing. I mean, the thing about... I'll go all the way here. The original Zygons are one of the best designs in Doctor Who, the most subtle, the most weird, odder than all the other designs. And this is one of the worst. And that may sound like an exaggeration, but to superimpose the scary mouth onto this wonderful design is a bigger false step than just creating a dodgy monster to start with. And I'm not actually sure they would create a monster that simplistic and obvious from scratch. Somebody's obviously looked at the original design and thought, oh, that's not very scary, is it? I mean, that must be what they thought. That must have been the thought process. You'd think only fans are involved in this redesign. But so, yes, it's a bad design. It's got scary teeth. And it's got a bad actor in there who's been told to hiss and scowl and mug to the camera and do villainous laughs. And yet none of that's necessarily in the script. Somebody's just decided that's how you make it scary. So, quite apart from the fact that the wrong texture and everything else is wrong, compared to some of the other redesigns, it's like 95% the same, isn't it? But every single change, whether it's the materials or the whole tone, is wrong. And when you the new Daleks, the new Cybermen, and the new Ice Warriors have just been, they have their own problems. They are made chunkier and more weighty, I suppose. There's a sort of general trend to how to make things look more impressive in the modern age. But this is worse, because it is just taking a sophisticated alien race and turning it into something from a fairy tale or a nightmare. What a load of rubbish. How? Yes, sorry. When I rehearsed that earlier, I was less tired. I would have. I'm just trying to remember. Do we ever see Bonnie in her Zygon form at any point? Because I'm struggling to remember. You get basically you see her claw
/ hands at the end while I think she's talking off screen, and you see that she's obviously gone into her Zygon form at that point. And I think I wonder whether that's a case because they clearly, I think they dodged doing that because it would look so ridiculous for her to transform into this generic Zygon form. That, and no, I think it's a real missed opportunity. Yeah, you think that in this day and age it would be more easy to accomplish a sophisticated way of doing that with the actor wearing the stuff.
But even if it wasn't the actor, a series of actors demonstrating that they didn't all look like Sontaran. There's a scene where they just have 10 of them heights in a row.
Yes, exactly.
And they're just clones. They're just CGI clones.
Yeah. Just height variations and things like that would start going a bit of a way. Yeah.
But teeth! Why do they need teeth?
Yeah.
That was one of the most interesting things about them. I mean, all they've got are eyes and a mouth and a funny little nose to make them look human.
Why do they? Garrison with
Why do they need teeth? What else have they got? Earlobes, a perineum. I mean, why do they need just random human attributes to make?
So, on the positive
shins.
On the positive front,
we're not interested in that.
The fake out with Clara / Bonnie, which goes on for most of part one. I mean, obviously, on watching it a second time round, I remembered what was going on, so it didn't fool me at all. But the first time round, I was pretty much suckered in, I suppose, to that for 35 minutes.
I think I felt the same thing that I did the first time, which was that there were so many shots of Clara looking suspicious that it seemed pretty obvious that it was going to be her. And then I started to think there was going to be a twist and that it was Jay Griffiths, or is that her name?
Yeah.
Instead. Yeah. And then I was really waiting for that, and I was astonished when it turned out it actually was Clara. I think that's what I thought the first time, because I was hoping it would be.
So you think it would be better? She's doing Salatine acting.
There's a few. I mean, aren't there? Gav, you're in my corner.
Well, I had forgotten that twist, and my reaction to it this time, I think, was the same as the first time, which was, because it didn't. So at the point that it's turned on its head and you're told it's not Clara, it's a Zygon.
Yeah.
It has no bearing on the story. Because had that been Clara, all those events would have played out exactly, because apart from the few suspicious glances, you end up with Clara as part of an investigation into the Zygon incursion and ending up looking at a thing in a pod.
Yeah.
So if that had turned out to be Clara looking at a Zygon in a pod, and in the space of 5 seconds the Zygon had jumped out of the pod and thrown Clara in the pod, the story would have not changed at all.
Yeah.
So as a reveal, there was no impact on anything that I'd been seeing, except to say, oh, well, the thing that you thought was not quite the thing that you thought it was. Because whether it was a trap or a misguided operation, all of the chess pieces ended up in the same place. So,
and Indiana Jones didn't need to be there at all.
Exactly.
Talking of Indiana Jones, it's quite nice that Osgood is found under a carpet in Turkmenistan. That's very very Phil Morris-esque, isn't it?
Oh dear.
There's obviously no answer to that.
Do we think the change to the Zygons' modus operandi, that they now no longer need to keep the human host alive, is made so that there can be more drama, more consequences, so that you're not thinking, well, they can't kill off so-and-so because they need a host? Or is it just to explain why Osgood can be there when there's only one of her, because they weren't planning this from 5 stories earlier, or neither.
Well, it leads to scenes that are arguably more interesting.
Yeah.
But so the scene where the unit troops try to take the church and they can't because they're seeing their loved ones. But I don't think that's a good enough reason to completely change the rules. Yes, I think that it has to be done in order to get the Oswin stuff. The Osgood stuff.
Funny you should mention Oswin, but I'll come back to that.
The Osgood stuff to work. So they no longer need to keep the original. But I think I think apart from these 1 or 2 minutes of the invasion of the body snatchers type paranoia stuff, it doesn't help. But it also, a lot of the time, again, like Terror of the Zygons, the audience knows the truth. So it kind of doesn't matter, and it's weirdly more frustrating here, where the unit soldier is duped by the Zygon pretending to be his mum. We know it's not true. Yes. The commander knows it's not true. He really knows it's not true, but kind of starts to doubt it, and then goes and dies as a consequence. So despite the fact that they try to use the body double thing more effectively as a storytelling device, there's more bad examples of it being used.
And that's the problem. And that's a whole other thing that at least according to Osgood, so now they've got the ability. Osgood says the Zygons can pluck your loved ones from your memory and wear their faces. So this is just like like making up.
Yes, this is fantasy now. There's no technology involved.
It's a nice It's a good idea for a Doctor Who monster, but it should be a different Doctor Who monster, not the And the fact you've got a cool idea for a scene, I don't think justifies fitting it into
rewriting the rules of a monster that was pretty well defined.
Having a way of surviving the death of the original in some way of the prototype human, like, and being able to maintain the body print after death, that's something you could justify as being an extension of the technology, I guess. That they could have worked on that. But then the other thing, which is only I think used in that one scene, really. Yeah, it's just a whole other MO.
The way they explain it, the way it's just explained away in one line, does feel a bit shoehorned into me, like because I can't remember how big a plot point that is in Day of the Doctor, so I don't know if it's aimed at old fans who remember Terror or people who remember Day of the Doctor from 18 months earlier. But it's just, it didn't need to be there. It's just, does Clara say, but you can't because, that was the case, but it's not anymore. And then they carry on.
Yeah, there's a line about that they were the old rules.
Yes, yeah.
It's one of those explanations that when you look at the finished scene, you think, well, I mean, other showrunners would have said when there were similar examples, fans saying, why didn't you reference this plot point? And they say, well, we did in the first draft, we did put in an explanation, but it stuck out like a sore thumb, so we cut it out. And this, I think, is one of them, to be honest. I suppose, perhaps, if it contradicted Day of the Doctor, you had to address it. But you could have done it better than that.
I don't quite know why the Doctor's so obsessed with knowing whether Osgood is the Zygon version or the human version.
Is that no? It comes to nothing in the end. Again, is that a cheat? Because we're thinking, he keeps asking, it's going to be important. Therefore, there's that weapon he's talking about is going to be at the end. If she's human, she'll be right. If she's the Zygon, it'll kill her. I assume that's what we're supposed to be thinking. But But the Doctor is doing all this just to fake out the audience, so he doesn't know he's there. So that's a real cheat.
Or he's a terrible racist.
One thing I did feel I enjoyed and thought, okay, that's quite clever and that works. I enjoyed the stuff at the start of episode 2 where Clara in the pod is able to influence, is able to influence Bonnie who's wearing her body and learns how to do that.
But to me, I would have preferred they doubled down on that, the technological significance, rather than have any other dialogue which completely dismissed the importance of the technology and said, well, actually, Zygons can just pluck memories out of your brain.
Yes.
Because if they're going to say that the fact that Clara's plugged into the system is critical, then they're highlighting their dependence on the neural links, the physical links, or whatever. Whereas they then go into this weird middle ground where they're sort of trading insults, the two Claras, and we're trying to work out how valuable the real Clara actually is, because the Zygons have said, well, actually, we can dispose of the originals unless we need more information. So now the Zygon is just keeping Clara alive for information.
Yeah.
Which is basically what every Doctor Who monster does to every Doctor Who hero every week.
I'm just looking through the transcript again and seeing, basically, it's weird that they bugger it up, because the bit where they have the dialogue through the TV screen is quite good. I think that was as an interaction. But then why didn't they just keep Clara in the pod until... Because again, if you were just faithful to the concept and you kept Clara in the pod until the end, and although I suppose you've had the thing with I suppose Terror of the Zygons slightly fluffs it at the end. They get the humans out of the pods, and yet the body print doesn't. But they've got a time period, haven't they?
Yes.
They've said
they have to keep the originals because they have to refresh.
And they have to refresh it every couple of hours or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay, I suppose that's all right. But it's just because the weird thing is that they get Clara out of the pod for no particularly apparent reason. They bring the pod to the Black Archive for the big confrontation. And they get real Clara out of the pod. She gets precisely, she pretty much gets precisely one line, and then a handful of simpering, sort of close-ups of her looking concerned. But there's nothing. It's a very odd choice to have your actress playing duplicates of herself, and then not have any interaction or any particular significance to the fact that they're both in the same scene, and she's just basically there as a spectator while the Doctor does his showboating to Bonnie and Kate.
As is everybody else, of course, but...
Yes, yeah. But it's very odd that she doesn't even answer, and I don't know why they didn't... Yeah, why not just keep her in the pod and have that being, because that would be more of a threat almost, that then you can only get her out of the pod when Bonnie agrees to give up being... But then you balk the entire idea, because unless you put 20 million Brits into pods at some point in order to sustain your clone, your Zygon body prints.
Well, they could have... You could do anything with that. You could...
I suppose you've extended the idea.
The technology could have evolved in any one of loads of directions. It could have evolved into creating new, original, random people, faces, like AI, rather than...
Well, actually, hasn't the... Just thinking about... Isn't part of the flashback thing that the Doctor's done some magic to the thing in Day of the Doctor in order to Zygonify?
No idea.
No,
but
I'll try and find it.
All that aside, one thing I quite liked about I didn't like the structure of the story as a narrative, but the way it used the characters was quite interesting. We get Clara going off being the Doctor. I mean, she's barely got any time with the Doctor, has she, in this story? But she's going off being the Doctor, which I seem to remember was a theme in this series.
Yes.
And that gives the Doctor the chance to have Osgood as a companion and Kate doing her own thing.
Yeah.
I quite like that.
Yeah, there's some nice moments for sure with the Doctor and Osgood in episode 2. Yeah.
There was something I wanted to say about 10 minutes back, and it kept...
While you're thinking of that, it's kind of odd that Capaldi, in his sort of climactic speech, decides to use his Huey Green, is it, accent, the American game show host, to someone who is apparently, a woman in her 40s, and somebody else who's a Zygon, in her, and relatively young. It doesn't feel like it's a cultural phenomenon that either of them is going to particularly understand.
I don't know if that was his idea, but it seems like the sort of thing.
Let alone any of the viewers. Sorry, go on.
It seemed much more like something the 10th Doctor would have randomly thrown in, like a random Scooby-Doo impression or anything to liven the scene up.
That scene, originally, they wanted to do it in a single take. Ultimately, they did 2 takes of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they used almost all of the first take. And I think about 64% is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just doesn't stop.
Mm.
And because my recollection is that of an episode on broadcast, of an episode I wasn't particularly enjoying, that speech ruined it. But on a rewatch, for a period of time, the speech was my favourite bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then it keeps going, and the outcome is kind of naive and insulting. That the whole point is you've got this incredibly complex problem, and the idea that the Doctor could just, if the Doctor had just been there to,
knock heads together.
If he just wagged his finger at Osama bin Laden back in the day, he'd have just gone, what was I thinking? I will stop all my beliefs immediately. It's really hard to...
Well, you see, that's another place the metaphor falls down, because the Zygons don't have any beliefs, do they?
Yeah. And
we don't know what...
And the Doctor mocks them for it, which I wasn't particularly wild about, because the whole point is... It boils down to the... like you say, he makes fun of them for not knowing what their version of society is that they want. Which is not a very nuanced view of the situation that they are echoing.
I mean, it would be lovely if we could all just get along. I mean that would be very nice indeed. But I guess if we've learned anything over the last few years, it's that people will look desperately for the differences rather than the similarities. And they're not going to listen to reason. They're going to listen to a narrative that makes them feel better about life. They're not actually going to choose a thing which would be better for them a better outcome for them. They're going to choose something that's going to perpetuate their worldview.
I think the problem is with the Zygon analogy is that you've got a 20 million odd individuals who are living currently peacefully, and a small number who are going to forcibly eject the rest into a war, into a tumultuous situation. So it's a stretch of the analogy if they're going for religion, because it's not a faith-based proposition. The guy. So what's the Zygon called? Bella, Cruella,
Bonnie,
Zygella.
Yeah.
Zygella.
He calls it Zygella, but yeah.
Bonnie ultimately confesses that fundamentally she just wants war, which doesn't really equate to anyone's belief in the faith or geopolitical situation that we currently have. Everyone has an objective, whether war is needed or violence is needed to achieve that objective. So they've kind of created a nonsense idea that then is easy to dispel, because the Zygon can just be dismissed of its mad ideas very easily.
Most of what Bonnie says and what the Doctor's arguing at the end would be much more relevant if we were talking about a small group of people who had been colonised by a larger group, and they would be the rebels and freedom fighters and terrorists, which is a much more common situation in real life, unfortunately, and has been used far more often in science fiction, allegorically. But do you think I'm right there? That seems to be... They can't think of enough of a way of discussing the problem they're actually... these situation they're actually basing their metaphor on. So they switch to a different one, which is...
Yeah.
It's almost the diametrical opposite. Well, we've heard that argument given, I'm sure, by the Doctor before, that terrorists... One man's freedom fighter, which is another man's terrorists, are people who just want war and they should sit down and talk. They just want to fight for the sake of it. But it really makes no sense here. Have we finished that bit? I just wanted to slide something in, which I should have said 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But we can't help that now. Time flies like an arrow. I didn't remember the precise writing credits before I went into this. So when I started part 2, and it does that typical not just New Who, but Moffat-y thing of not picking up from the cliffhanger, but going somewhere different. I thought, and it's all the pre-title stuff with the surrealism and the slow reveal that Clara's in a virtual reality. I thought, this is very Moffat-y. Is Peter Harness? Peter Harness is trying to impress his boss by ripping him off, and then lo and behold, we get the titles, and this episode has been co-written by Mr. M. So do we think... I wouldn't have been at all surprised if he'd added that entire element. Maybe not. Maybe the sort of psychic link between the two would have already existed, but the specific way he presents it is very much like part 2 of Silence in the Library with Donna's Dream World. It's also quite a lot like Oswald in Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it, and I'm sure there are others. We've seen it a hell of a lot of times. So it feels very familiar here. That's the. I mean, and it is nicely done, as you discussed earlier. But it's.
Oh yeah, so part 1 is Harness only.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's another example of. It really feels like they brainstormed ideas, different directions you could go from this starting point, and put them all in. And that's why it creaks at the seams, and why it ultimately feels you're never quite sure what the stakes are or what. And that's a bit Moffat-y, I think. I mean, like you said about the Impossible Astronaut. There's another similarity. The Zygons threaded throughout society are a bit like the Silence, in the sense, mostly in the sense that when they're going to flick a switch and there'll be a big reveal, everyone will see them. So, another question. I don't know. I can't remember the plot of Invasion of the Body Snatchers very well. Which of Terror of the Zygons and the Zygon Invasion draws from it more, if at all? Discuss. No, please discuss. Please.
My understanding is that the main inspiration for the Zygon Inversion was the Red Panic rather than Invasion of the Body Snatchers itself, and that anyone could be a communist.
That didn't really come through, did it? Do you think? I don't want to be overly... Well, I'd never have known that.
Yeah. There was a lot in the mix.
Extra minute. So you just reminded me of my favourite line from Inside of the Daleks.
Extra. Yeah.
Any excuse to say it.
So Kay Lethbridge-Stewart is in Truth or Consequences, and at the end of episode 1, or Zygon Invasion, the police officer turns into a Zygon, and then after that we're shown a sequence in which somebody apparently looking like Kay Lethbridge-Stewart calls in and says, "Yeah, we've neutralised unit in America, no problem." And then in the second part, we're shown how, in fact, she overpowered the Zygon and gave her 5 rounds rapid. So was that Kate trying to fool Bonnie, or does it just not work?
Apparently she just adopted all of the appropriate Zygon terminology.
Brilliant.
She knew what to say and when to say it.
Figure out exactly what to say, yeah.
Excellent. That's good old Kate.
I can tell you I got two exciting facts for you.
Okay.
There was originally I think it was a colonel band bearer in the original script. And I can tell you that the truth or consequences scenes were filmed in Fuerteventura, where I once had a holiday.
Lovely.
Is this the one you went to the Sensualites?
No, that was Mallorca.
Right.
Right.
Fuerteventura, I watched Planet of Fire.
Oh, right.
Hey. Okay.
Because it was the closest island.
Yeah.
Do they have tumbleweed?
Tumbleweed pulled on a string
Right.
that I noticed slid gently across the road in this Zygon story.
It didn't really tumble.
It didn't tumble. It was a slidey weed, they call it in Fuerteventura.
Slidey weed on a string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's up there with your observations about soap mats. And,
I couldn't work out whether those
sliding up
tumbleweeds
tubes.
were meant to be people who'd been killed. Or...
Oh yes, the hairy balls. What? So what's up with the hairy balls? Because it seems
don't
like
know.
people turn into hairy balls, but Zygons turn into hairy balls too.
I didn't like the sudden ability of Zygons to shoot electricity like they'd always done that. And we'd all forgotten.
Yes. Well, I suppose we can't.
If this
That
carries
sort
on,
of thing is that a case of they don't want to show Zygons having to make more
knifing
intimate
people.
physical contact with their stings,
Titillating the fronds.
Yes. So, yeah.
What were you
if this
gonna say,
carries
Paul?
on, if this carries on like this, all monsters will one day be able to do everything, won't they? Because lazy writers will just borrow whatever powers up.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying about how the Zygons, in Terror of the Zygons, had some pretty interesting powers, technology, but they were relatively impotent as creatures. You know, they were frolicking about in the forest, vulnerable and exposed, and could just be shot, and they were just ducking and diving and smashing people on the head with a rock because they were just left to their own devices. They couldn't pluck different forms out of memories or shoot electricity or all of this other mad useful stuff.
Which is why they had to be cunning. Their only strength was this technology they had, and they used that for everything. And they had to be good actors and play the long game and all that sort of thing. Whereas here they still do those things, even though they could apparently just wave their hands and turn you into a pile of sparkly hair. It makes you wonder why they
If the illusion that they create is powerful enough that it seems to transcend logic, because that unit soldier must have known that wasn't his mum on the step, and she didn't even pass the test of tell me a childhood thing. So that suggests there's a little more in play than just what you're looking at, whether it's in the text or not. So when Bonnie is Clara, why didn't Bonnie just turn into Omega or Rassilon or something to just completely mess with the Doctor's mind and just create a vision that he couldn't say no to, and Bonnie could impose their will? It unfetters the rules to an extent that you can't constrain a story in a satisfying way or be left with no questions.
Yep.
Talking about that thing with his mum again, of course, and then what you just said about it's a bit much that they fail that test apparently of being able to tell him something that only his mum would know. When on the other hand, in the previous line we've been told by Osgood, they reach into your mind and pluck out your loved ones from your memories.
Yeah.
Since that why they can do that, but they can't also remember the name of your teddy bear.
Yeah.
Or figure that out.
And
they can apparently
the
do
whole
this.
interrogation of Clara
Yeah.
is based on the fact they can't access her memories.
Does lead you down a very tricky pathway when you start sort of broadening the sort of skill set of these monsters.
There's a lot of very, very, very important questions left unanswered. And one of those is who is doing all of the printing for the Zygons. Because they have a really nice map of their battle plans. It's nice vinyl print, and they've got all of they've got stuff. They've also got all of the
graffiti stencils, and
they have, but they've also got how to recognise human drones and aircraft printed up on the wall, and that's got all nice Zygon typography on it. So they've got access to at least an A3 sized printer, possibly an account with Vistaprint. We don't know.
They probably go to that dodgy print shop from Line of Duty run by the organised crime, the OCG.
They'll do anything.
It all comes out of there. Sorry,
on a bit of a downer. So apparently there actually was a major aviation disaster 4 days before this, but it's a flight going from Sharm el-Sheikh to Russia got blown up with 212, but also people killed. Prompted 31 complaints to the BBC. Or no, to the Ofcom decided not to take things any further, but I do think that's sort of dicing with the number of times they did sort of aviation peril.
Yeah. Well, this is
Death in Heaven and Magician's Apprentice and this.
And Time Flight.
Yeah. And what happened to the plane crew?
Dead. They didn't have.
Exactly.
They didn't have any parachutes.
They didn't have. Yes.
No. But they don't count.
No.
And there was a big old funny joke about the Union Jack.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's a laugh, isn't it?
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Everyone else is splattered.
Yeah.
How does this story rate compared to the Rebel Flesh on the scary doppelganger surprise stakes? Because we discussed it just a few weeks ago, and I've completely forgotten now what we concluded. I think we decided that some of the surprising scares were good and some were missed opportunities.
My vague recollection is that we quite liked as much as we picked plenty of holes in the logic of it. I think the execution of it was this one doesn't really set out to, the silly jump scare Zygons aside. Yeah. This one isn't really setting out to be scary.
It's not. Okay,
it's an existential dread rather than
yes, but it's not like
I'm terrified, and so is my local reform councillor.
Yes,
he shat himself when he watched this. No, I mean it's not going for the sustained atmosphere of gothic horror that the Rebel Flesh is, but there are long chunks which are trying to be, and they aren't really. There's something about this. They very rarely get it right. There's a lot more attempts to write filmic suspense and horror sequences in New Who, and most of the directors don't like to be unkind, but aren't really up to it, which is why.
Who directed this?
Daniel Nettheim.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he? Who is he?
So Daniel Nettheim took inspiration from the Bourne film franchise, as he felt it was to be directed as an urban thriller.
Right.
And I think that really comes across, and I don't think it has any business in the world of Doctor Who and religious terrorism. But that's just me.
I didn't spot that because there was no point where the Doctor jumped over a fence and we saw it in 12 cuts in 1 second. Oh well. Another obscure film studies reference. Put me out this pasture.
I think
that's the thing. I think I got confused between Daniel Nettheim and Saul Metzstein.
Yeah.
But neither of them directed. Yeah, you got to have a system.
You got to have a system.
Neither of them directed Day of the Doctor.
Yeah. I think I liked this better in 2015 because it was a different era. It was,
yes, before 2016, wasn't it? That's the main bloody difference.
I mean, basically, that it would be nice. It'd be nice to have a world in which it was possible to argue people down on the basis of logic, but we'd know that doesn't work. We know that if that were the case, that Brexit wouldn't have happened, and a bunch of other things as well. But people actually, they don't really respond to rational logic. They respond to...
Repeat after me. You can't rationalise somebody out of a position that they didn't rationalise themselves into.
Yes, indeed.
I slightly bollocks that up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yes.
You can't use reason to reason someone out of a position they didn't use reason to get into.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Why I switched it for something more complicated, I don't know. It might be my problem in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
I'm always having to cut 20,000 words out of my second draft.
I also have an unreasonable enthusiasm for Osgood in this. Ingrid What's-Her-Face. I think that's quite good. I mean, there are bits about this that I like, but I agree. I think that it is frustrating in large measure as well.
She married to Richard Osman.
Yes,
she is. Yes.
Osgood is now Mrs. Osman.
Yes,
Osgood, Osman. Yeah.
Got to have a system.
Yeah. So Daniel Netine came back the following year and directed Pyramid at the End of the World.
Oh yeah,
which,
that was.
as I recall, is another globetrotting.
Is that a
Peter
return
Harness
to
story?
Turkmenistan.
Oh, I think it might be actually. Yeah, it's the second part of the monks thing, isn't it? I think you could well be right that he throws in Turkmenistan again.
As it worked so well.
Yeah, I was going to write a sketch about people pressing buttons in boxes, but I couldn't be bothered in the end, which is why I came up with the other one instead.
Is it supposed to make one think of Deal or No Deal?
Neither could the
box
doctor
being empty.
Yes. That was it's meta. Yeah.
I've never watched Deal or No Deal, so I can't help you on that score.
All right. I wouldn't have been surprised if it phoned the banker.
Yeah.
That's. Why did I want to come back to this podcast? Why did I think I had anything to offer apart from torturous puns, inane references, and David Mitchell impressions?
Is Rebecca Front one of the most miscast people in the history of Doctor Who?
Yeah.
I hated myself, but I really thought that it was like a JNT era Beryl Reid sort of casting decision. It was in that it's a good actor, but you don't believe it for a second. In fact, I believe her less than I believe in Captain Briggs for Earthshock, so there. Sorry, Rebecca Front. No, I'm not. You should have turned it down, Rebecca. You've got to have some dignity.
Slightly related to that. I think there's only 2 speaking male guest cast in this. I think it's literally the father of the boy in Clara's Block of Flats and old hand actor. Him of the Zygon, the poor Zygon convert. Every other character in this is female, of any character of any consequence.
What's your point? You big sexist.
Health and safety gone mad.
No, presumably
you got a big problem.
Maybe they decided, we're gonna do a big thing on terrorism and terrorism and war, and let's make every character in it a woman. So that we're showing women can be just as bad as men when it comes to warmongering.
Yeah. Are you saying that Peter Harness is the anti-Robert Holmes?
No, I'm saying possibly Moffat was responding to. Had half a mind on discourse around sexism in his version of Doctor Who.
Just to go back to something from earlier, when we were talking about Mordred Undead a couple of years ago, the nurse from Terror of the Zygons is how the matron should have been in Mordred Undead. Because as you'll remember, I told you that Peter Grimwade complained that he'd written Nurse Bea Harridan, and the actress had played her like she was a lovely old auntie baking fairy cakes, even though he hadn't put that in the script. But anyway, Nurse Lamont, if that's what she's called.
She's terrifying, isn't she?
Yes. It would have been perfect for the character in Mordred Undead that wasn't actually written like that, but which the writer said would have been brilliant if he had been directing it.
Possibly the scariest character in the history of Doctor Who, actually.
I've only got one other comment on my list, which is, yuck about the Sullivan, what they did to Harry Sullivan. And there's someone retconned that. That's just like, oh, really? The whole Borden Down Sullivan's
that's what he devoted his life to after.
Yes. He toddled off
gave up medicine and healing people, and turned his mind is to genocide.
Yes.
I mean, it comes to us all, with age, we all go a bit more right-wing, don't we?
Yeah. Yes, and allegedly using captured Zygons. I'm trying to work out where they cropped up in, just to make it even worse. I don't think there are any survivors from Terror, are there?
No.
Maybe in the wreckage, but not really.
Who knows? Maybe they have some power to reconstruct themselves, like the Thing or something. I don't know. We'll probably find out one day.
Yes.
In the original draft of the Zygon Invasion, there were worms, like foot long,
of course
like
there were.
Fendaline type squigglers.
What were they? What did they do?
Squiggle.
In any of the many doppelganger stories in Doctor Who, has anyone ever ripped off the best scene from The Thing, where they strap everyone down to a chair and threaten to set fire to them with a flamethrower if they don't? Because that would have been... Well, anyway...
That would have been perfect for a kid's tea time adventure series.
Exactly. I know that. I remember that was your main angle.
This one, maybe.
It feels like
that's your main angle on this, Gav, wasn't it? That it wasn't violent or grown up or adult enough or unsuitable for kids enough. It needed a big pile of dead dogs that all
I think
melded into one.
I think if this was season 14, then it would have been no problem at all.
It went more down the alien imagery route, didn't it? To the extent that it pastiched any more horror films, I think it was. With the pods on the ceiling and shit. Yeah. But that was a fake out, because we thought, what a clever fake out. What a clever way of subverting expectations. We thought they were going to have Zygons in, because they look like the sort of things you grow a Zygon in. But it wasn't. Brilliant. So I'm just being needlessly sarcastic now. This is terrible. Gav's done this to me. I quite liked it.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the thing that happened was that Clara Roswell got inside Bonnie's head and inside the Doctor's head. I don't really quite know what she was doing in there, but apparently she doesn't leave, so maybe she's still in there.
Well, this is all that tedious and somewhat confusing season 9 thing about the hybrid, isn't it? That
Christ.
Just keep throwing in the word hybrid and making you worry about, making us wonder what the hybrid is.
I love that sort of season arc. That's my favourite. They keep thinking they can come up with something as tenuous as Bad Wolf, and they'll find it one day.
So,
which had the excuse that they were making it up as they went along, and they didn't, and they just cobbled it together from things that had already happened halfway through the series. But it's a great trick to plan one from the start and have it still feel like. Anyway, never mind.
I'm still bewildered as to what the hybrid turned out to be.
Oh, me too.
I think it was Hyundai i30, which ran both on petrol and generated electricity. No?
Very good.
Sorry.
It's the only explanation that fits the available facts.
Yep.
I say it's impossible to buy the idea that a man in a rubber suit filmed on a camera phone would be seen as a terrifying start of a real alien invasion.
True.
Well, I don't know. Stick it on Facebook. Anything could happen.
I drifted off in that plot point. Did the startling and incendiary video get released to YouTube or
yeah, because there was a news article about it.
Right.
Where the news said.
And did the riot start? Was there?
Everyone went. Well, it's someone in pretty shit rubber suit.
Did they?
I take it by the way.
Were we told what happened as a result of that, or did they just move on to something different?
Moved on.
Oh look.
Moved on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I take it we have all seen about this thing with the scene from The Watcher, or the still from The Watcher, appearing on Facebook, with someone claiming it's a paranormal entity. The Watcher from Logopolis.
All right.
Yeah. No? Really?
Yeah, last week.
I hadn't seen that. Oh.
Last week, that achieved some minor level of virality. But I'm not sure whether that was just people on Blue Sky going, "Oh, you'll never believe what people on Facebook will believe."
Ah, the social media wars.
Yes, yeah.
That's just what a Redditor would say. I've moved to Signal because I like the sound of it from hearing how Trump's cabinet made good use of it. Yeah. I wanted a bit.
You never know, you might get added to
I just thought, yeah, exactly. I thought I'd have one in, 7 million chance of being added to a discussion about plans for a war. It's not a war! Yeah. It's a directed, it's a controlled strike.
So having slain this one and then chopped it up into small pieces and set the pieces on fire, do we want to jump on them a bit more, or are we sort of close to the end now?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, as I'm always saying when we go back to Moffat era stuff, we didn't know when we had it. We didn't know when we had it good. We should have. Yeah, we should have appreciated it. It's our own fault that
you're being silly, and I think you're wrong. I didn't like it from the beginning through to the middle to the end. I wish it had gone away.
What you're saying is you'd rather that it disappeared from the iPlayer and the Zygon Terror of the Zygons magically appeared in its place.
That ideally, yes.
So if this had been a classic Who story, would it have been a 4-parter or a 6-parter? And regardless of which it would have been, would the Doctor's speech at the end have taken up an entire episode? You see, you don't actually have to answer because it was just a lead up to a setup for a gag. But you can if you think it's a terrific. But no, I mean, because it goes all over the place, doesn't it? It doesn't progress from one location to another. We get all the locations and all the characters split up, thrown at us right from the off, and they keep juggling all these parts, which is why it feels like there's no particular progression. It's just a series of vignettes of ideas they've had, which aren't all congruent. That's the word of the evening. But because they're all so entertaining, we're just having such a blast watching it, we don't mind, is what they hoped.
Links.
The Sontaran.
Gas.
Right.
The gas was used to gas the village in Terror of the Zygons, and the gas is Harry Sullivan's legacy to exterminate the Zygons.
Lovely.
Harry Sullivan's gas sounds like a Walter Holmes joke.
That was a sequel to Harrison's... Oh, shit, bed. That was the sequel to Harry Sullivan's War from these short-lived range, The Companions of Doctor Who, wasn't it, Rich? I'm going to bed.
Once more with feeling.
Yeah.
In Terror of the Zygons,
yes,
the Doctor says that the Scarasan is a hybrid creature brigadier.
Right.
Ooh.
So you got the hybrid in both stories.
Hybrid.
Do they use the word cyborg in Terror of the Zygons or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
I think so.
Hybrid.
Is that relevant?
There's no hairy balls in Terror of the Zygons.
Well, there were, but Sarah, they cut that scene where Sarah looks up.
A beloved character is offered a lift in the TARDIS and remains behind.
Oh, nice.
Oh, true. Good. So we're expecting Oscar to turn into a war criminal next?
Probably.
Yeah.
A companion interferes with Zygon technology to throw off an attack on the Doctor. Subterranean bases.
Yeah, definitely.
Both stories set in 2 countries. Very rare for classic Doctor Who.
True.
That's England and Scotland, for those who weren't following.
At least 2 countries, yeah.
1 or more countries.
Yes.
2 or...
Multiple
several
countries.
Yeah.
A character known only by a pseudonym whose real name is unknown or said to be unpronounceable. The Caber and or the Doctor. There's not just because the Doctor's in it, but there's a conversation about the Doctor's name and the Petronella thing.
Basil.
Yeah. Basil, Disco.
Yeah.
Doctor Disco. What were they thinking?
They tell me that these stories all have 15 drafts because that's the way modern television works. But it doesn't bloody show when you listen to some of the dialogue, does it? Oh, what's happened to me? But you know what I mean. You don't get gags like that. A very first draft 4 a.m. stuff, aren't they? That'll do until I think of a proper joke. Oh, God, shut up, Paul. Shut up, Paul. You've got things out there with your name on them. People can make comparisons between you and Peter Harness and Robert Banks Stewart. And at least I'll come out on top of Robert Banks Stewart.
Should we do a Something Who episode, which is an old audio adventure and one of Paul's audio adventures?
What, like sort of Paradise of Death or something like that? Plus,
yeah,
Yeah, you've made him freeze.
Yeah, and he cannot retort.
Fills me with terror.
So I've still never seen that Zygon film, but never mind.
It's probably for the best.
Me neither. No. So.
It's pretty.
Does anything get titivated?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of Bill Baggs stuff going on in that.
Right.
Wicked, wow, wow, wow. A lot of Bill Baggs stuff. Sure. Is that meant to be How did that become a euphemism?
Make of that what you will.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be my Bill Bag. Okay, well, I think we'll just draw a veil.
Draw a veil over.
Yes. So look, I mean, thanks. Those of you who reached this far, I mean, particularly, I think this evening, we've probably given you a reason to have switched off by now. But if you have made it to the end, thanks for listening to Something Who. If you've enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, rate and review. If you haven't enjoyed it, then you don't go anywhere near any reviews because we could do without that kind of review. But please let us know what you liked about it. And there's loads more of these on our feed if, by some miracle... I just see Paul coming back. If you like Something Who, please tell your friends, your family, your colleagues, your neighbours, and your Zygon duplicate. And if you hate us, don't tell a soul. We aim to make these recordings about once a month, but it is just a fun thing we do. So please be patient with us if it takes a bit longer. But we should be back soon, as indeed now is Paul.
Did I miss the goodbyes?
Yeah. No, we haven't done that yet.
No, we haven't done that bit yet.
Would you like to say goodbye?
So you didn't need to point it out then, did you? I hate technology. But then again, I hate the lack of technology more. EE broadband. Yeah, no, don't.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also BT, so what are you going to do? I mean, you've got no choice, really. Yeah. It's like the fake illusion of consumer choice with the privatised water companies. Where else am I going to get my bloody water from? Fuerteventura? I don't think so.
You could just get a great big length of hose from Hoselock.
Yeah.
Run it from your neighbouring water authority.
When I get a train from Y in Kent to London, I think I'll go by ScotRail. How wonderful. Yeah. How wonderful that the choice is open to me.
Yeah. I love and hate technology in an equal measure, really, sometimes. I love it really, but it can be bloody frustrating.
It all depends on whether you can titivate the fronds.
So yeah, we'll see you soon, I guess. Thanks, Giles, Gav and Paul for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. Wasn't doing anything else.
What did you want to plug this week, Paul?
Is this going to be out in time for people to come and see me in the Tempest?
I don't know. When you're in the Tempest?
Okay. Next Thursday?
No, probably not.
Okay. 3 weeks after that, I'm in King Lear.
Right.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. About a month after that, I'm in Comedy of Errors. Oh, and at the end of October, I'm in Agatha Christie's The Rats. Yeah, I should really give up acting. What a waste of time. I should... It's not really my forte, is it?
Paul Morris is currently appearing in.
When did I last see my talent?
At the Winter Gardens, Bournemouth.
Gav, should we be sending people in the direction of your escape room?
Sure. Anyone in the Wirral or Northwest area, please use discount code SW10 for 10% off the West Kirby Escape Room.
I can currently be heard on the podcast Cinema Limbo.
Oh, right.
Where I'm talking about the film Speed Racer. I recorded it about 2 years ago. I don't know why they sat on it. I assume it was execrable. But it's finally out now.
Lovely.
It was the last one I did. I've been sacked. But Gav and I have got our new podcast coming up. So that's,
oh, yes. It's called the... What's it called?
The Right Stuff.
Oh, yes. The Right Stuff. Very good.
Although I'm feeling less confident about it after this evening. It's been a long week. It's only Tuesday. That's giving away trade secrets. They didn't know it was Tuesday, did they?
They could probably sense
It's
it.
Wednesday now.
Yeah. Anything else you want to? Anything you want to be selling us, Giles?
No, not really. Not this time.
Very good.
What are you implying?
People,
I don't have something.
No. It's people.
I don't have something to sell.
People can focus their efforts
I'm just here for the love of the game, Richard.
on Gav's escape room and Paul's act.
Oh,
Paul's
yes,
acting.
sorry, yes.
Yeah.
All our revels now are ended. And these are players, or as I foretold, 4 twatty Doctor Who fans. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the DVD collections, the great BBC archive itself shall dissolve and leave not a rack behind.
Great stuff. Right, I'm stopping my recording.
Yeah, don't cut out your great stuff. You've just got to end where I end.
Yeah.
Or
We don't know where your performances are. We don't know where to buy tickets.
Who cares? Nobody's actually going to come up. Do you think that?
Go on.
I don't know which of our comments would fit better. Until
Yours.
we've started. Can you remember where you were?
Yeah.
Right, stick a pin in it.
Can I? Are you going to leave my fuck up in? Because that's awful.
No.
That'd be very sad. You can't let Paul
What?
No.
eat my biscuits.
Arabella Weir from the Big Finish story Exile from the Unbound Doctor Who trilogy.
What does Arabella Weir look like? I didn't bother to Google her name.
She's the Does My Bum Look Big in This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One from the
She looks quite like Arabella Weir, really. I look. I mean,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
worry. I've got isolated audio, so I can do whatever I like.
I really thought.
Power. Mad with power.
Yeah.